So I'm sure all of you guys remember one of the most infamous Hillary Clinton moments of all time, which was during the 2016 campaign when she said that Trump's supporters are, quote, deplorables. Now, to be fair, she actually didn't say they're all deplorables, which is how it was reported in a whole bunch of different places. She said about half of them are deplorables. Now, does that make the comment better? Yes, it does. Does that make it completely correct? Not necessarily. I mean, I actually think it's fair to say at least half of Trump supporters are what I call TFG, too far gones. Like you're never going to get through to them no matter how much evidence or how good your arguments are, etc. But it is like, look, if you're a presidential candidate, it's just a clunky, stupid thing to say. And you're like inviting backlash if you say something like that. And she should have known that. But of course, she's just not a very skilled politician. I think that's obvious. She's actually really bad at being a politician. But anyway, that was a huge moment. It went mega viral. Everybody talked about it. Even to this day, people bring it up, right? But there's a really good comparison here to be had because Trump, not too long ago, came out and basically described his political opponents as, quote, vermin. And he does this on a daily basis. He'll go out there and say, the people who are against me are Marxist, communist, fascists. He just throws like every label that sounds negative, just throw it out there at his political opponents. But he even went as far as to say vermin in a recent post. Okay. Well, Media Matters decided, let's take a moment here and go through how much media coverage there was of the deplorables comment versus Trump's vermin comment. Because it is very analogous, right? Like the kind of language, how it's sort of like dehumanizing to people who don't agree with you, etc. Okay, so here's what they say. Major news outlets devoted dramatically less coverage to former President Donald Trump describing his political enemies as vermin earlier this month than they provided then Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's 2016 basket of deplorables remark in the week following those respective comments. So according to a Media Matters review, the big three broadcast TV networks provided 18 times more coverage of Clinton's 2016 deplorables comment than Trump's vermin remark on their combined nationally syndicated morning news, evening news, and Sunday morning political talk shows. 18 times more coverage for deplorables compared to vermin. CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC mentioned Clinton's deplorables comment nearly 9 times more than Trump's vermin comment. Print reports that mentioned Clinton's statement outnumbered those that mentioned Trump's 29-1 across the 5 highest circulating U.S. newspapers. Wow. So here's what it would look like in chart form: broadcast TV news coverage of Clinton deplorables and Trump vermin comments. As you can see, deplorables got way more legs. Now, look, a fair response to this is like, yeah, but Trump does so many outrageous things on a daily basis that like some of the things are just not going to break through. I actually think that's fair. And I don't think you can look at this analysis and come to the conclusion, what, the media likes Trump more than they liked Hillary? No, I mean, Fox News likes Trump more than Hillary. Newsmax and One American News likes Trump more than Hillary. But of course, CNN and MSNBC and the nightly news, they largely preferred Hillary to Trump. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. So I don't think that's the takeaway here. The takeaway to me is this. Oftentimes, it really is Fox News that sets the agenda, and then many of the others are forced to follow. Many of the other networks are forced to follow. So here's an example. Remember, there's always like before an election, there's always this like caravan of migrants coming to the U.S. And Fox News starts with it. They harp away. I mean, they go all in on covering this stuff nonstop. And then eventually, after like a day of coverage, all of a sudden, all the nightly news programs are talking about it. CNN is talking about it. They're so persistent and over the top that it's like they force other networks to cover the same sort of garbage that they cover. Because it would feel like to the other networks, hey, we're not being fair to the other side if we don't bring up this thing. And I've seen this cycle happen time and time again. So in the case of the deplorables comment, I have no doubt Fox News led the charge, talking about, oh my God, she called Republicans deplorables. This is unacceptable. This is crazy. Let's do 87 segments about it. And then that forced the hand of the CNNs and the MSNBCs and the nightly news channels to be like, yeah, she did say deplorables, and this is kind of a big moment, and, you know, it's something that we should all be talking about. Now, on the flip side, you don't have a CNN or an MSNBC or any left outlet setting the agenda, right? So when Trump called his political opponents vermin, they didn't really lead the way. CNN and MSNBC didn't give that breathless, endless coverage talking about how incredible it is. He's using Nazi-like language, and he also said the immigrants poison the blood of the nation or something like that, which again is like a direct quote from Hitler. But you don't have the networks sort of harping away on, he said Vermin, he's dehumanizing all of his political opponents. He's not interested in a real exchange of ideas. He's just hateful, and he just despises the other side. How's he going to represent all Americans when, he clearly hates half the country? You didn't have the more liberal outlets do that. And so Fox News hand wasn't forced to cover. By the way, I don't even think Fox News would be forced under any circumstances to cover something that CNN or MSNBC is making a big deal. But in other words, you have some people in the news space who are leaders and others who are followers. And I think Fox News is more leaders and all the other outlets are more followers. So the right can set an agenda, make a story really big, and drag along the other outlets to cover it. Whereas you very rarely, I say this all the time, guys, but I feel like the outrage meter of liberal media outlets, it's broken. I feel like they get outraged at all the wrong things. I wish they had focused more on Trump's terrible, disastrous policy record and talked about why that makes him dangerous and why that makes him bad, as opposed to usually it's they're get all worked up over tweets, or he's being mean to Bette Midler. This is the stuff that they care about, and it's that's not going to break through. But this is a great example here. It's a really interesting analysis. They covered the deplorable comment way more than the Vermin comment, even though those are very comparable situations. And I actually do think more of a campaign really highlighting how dehumanizing the language is to his opponents. I think that would have been good. I try to cover it on this show when he says things that I think are truly psychotic, that shine a spotlight into how he thinks. I try to cover it as much as humanly possible. But clearly, mainstream media, they're just not up to the task. They're really just not up to the task. So it's wild, man. But that comment helped to end Hillary Clinton, right? The Vermin comment from Trump is just like any random Tuesday when he's tweeting on the toilet while shitting at 3 a.m., right? It's just another day. And it's almost like he has so many insane things so often that almost nothing pierces through anymore. It's an interesting dynamic that I don't think we'll ever see again. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You want to.